Hello and welcome to the Youth Work Plus podcast. My name is Becky Lawrence. I'm the host, and today I'm very happy to be joined by Dot, who's the youth worker at New Life Church here in Milton Keynes. We met a few months ago. I took Dot out for coffee and we got to know each other a little bit. And since then, we've seen each other at a few networking things and events. It's really great to have her on the podcast today to share a little bit about her ministry journey and things she's learnt along the way. I'm sure there'll be lots of snippets of great things she's going to say today. But why don't you unpack a little bit about what your role is and how you ended up there? What was your ministry journey?
Hi everyone. Let's see what my role is. I'm the youth leader here at New Life Church, youth and young adults leader. And next week, it will be my 1 year anniversary here, but it feels like I have been here forever. My journey into youth work has been quite odd because I started volunteering with Kids Church when I was like 12 years old. So I've always served children and youth.
Yeah.
But when I started my career, I felt God calling me into child protection. And that's where I felt a lot of focus. But somehow, every time I'd be in child protection and doing stuff, I'd still end up in the church. So I remember after my master's, I went back home. I'm from Kenya. So I went to Kenya and it's like there were closed doors everywhere. And I felt God calling me to do a church internship. And I've always felt reluctant about being a church worker. I don't know why. My mom's a vicar. Maybe there's some baggage there. Just a smidge. But I just never felt like that was my identity. So when I did the internship, I was doing child protection. That was running a fostering program. But I was a volunteer in the youth work and I kept going back there. In fact, at some point, the church was closing down our youth work and we continued to run a sort of like clandestine youth church. Um, so that has always drawn me, but I've been very reluctant towards this calling. So after I finished up there, I came to the UK to do my PhD and I went into research. And again, my heart has always been for children and youth. My heart has always been, I don't know why, from when I was young, God just gave me a sense of just like how important this phase of life is and just the need to both protect and nurture children and young people as they develop in this area. But I always thought of it from a child protection side. So anyway, I come to do my PhD. I get married and I'm looking for a job. And a church calls my husband to ask him to be a youth worker. And he's like, well, I'm kind of busy. But guess what? My wife is moving into the city soon. Why don't you interview her?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, God, once again, you've closed every door. I'm going to do this and I'm going to serve you. And I ended up leading youth work in a church in London. And then COVID hit, which was a whole other ballgame. I did that for about a year and then I needed to finish my PhD. So I bid that job goodbye. And I was like, okay, church work is behind me, right? No, it wasn't. Another year later, my husband was doing a youth work role. You guys will notice a pattern. He was doing a youth work role and he needed to move churches to get a different job because it just wasn't working out. And so we just felt God saying, Dot, why don't you be the in between? And why don't you help this church hand over the youth work as they look for someone else to handle it? Why don't you take on this role? And I was like, yeah, God, I like it when you use a temporary phrase. Like he was very clear that it was a transitional role. And I was like, I'm on it. If it's transitional, sign me up. So I did that. And that was when God started to change me. I always used to be intimidated. As much as I loved it, I was always intimidated by young people. They're just cool and interesting. And I'm just like, I'm an introvert. I'm boring. Or I like to think I'm boring sometimes. But God just gave me this ability to start connecting with them. And it was a really small youth group. I mean, like, our Tuesday meetings, we had 8 sometimes, and that was when the whole group was in, or sometimes we had one. And in that youth group, we had these 4 completely unchurched youth just used to come. And sometimes they were disruptive. And the church leadership was really struggling with them disrupting services. And we were coming to this debate of should we just discourage them from coming to church? What should we do? And in that fight, that's when God gave me the ministry of the one. And he was like, show up for the one. And I remember I would write, because I write my own materials. I would write materials and I'll be like, even if I show up in the Bible study, only one kid shows up, we are gonna do this. And in that small space, in that very small community church, just God changed my heart. So the time came when we needed to move to Milton Keynes, and God just opened up this avenue for us. It's a long story, but basically we were struggling financially. We were gonna downsize from a two-bed house to a one-room house because we're like, God, it's not working. And then through a random conversation, a house came up and it was a four-bedroom and we were going to be able to afford the rent. And I'm like, since when? And God was so behind it that when we said yes to the house in Milton Keynes, 2 days later, the people who are in this role, running the youth leaders, handed in their resignation. And then I applied for the role and got it. And I was like, wow, God, this is how you've transitioned me. So he pursued my heart first. And I think he put me in a place where I really had to hone down on what does it mean to serve a young person? What does it mean to love someone who is, I wouldn't say unlovable, but just makes it hard to love them.
Yeah.
And now I'm here, and it's overwhelming because sometimes there's, 100. We took 100 kids to New Day, so it's a big space and the challenges are different. The challenges have to do with things like how to build community. Like once you get to scale, you have to start remembering who is the one in the room and how do I not get them lost in the programming, because programming has to be massive, it has to be intentional in order to help the large numbers, but
Yep.
also how do I remember the one and make sure that they're seen. Yeah, that's my journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about like what does your youth work look like at New Life? What sort of things do you do? Obviously, you've mentioned a couple of things there, like, that you take them
Mhm.
away to New Day in the summer, which is a festival for
Yeah.
those people who don't know. And that you do a youth group. Unpack a little bit more about what your week looks like and
Yeah.
the young people that you have coming along.
Yeah, so I think the two key things for us during a weekly basis are Friday and Sunday. So we run a youth group on Friday. It's a lot more social, a lot more personal. We have maybe 30 to 40 kids coming on a Friday. It will be some combination of games, worship, and the word, but it just changes on the season. So, like this season, we're focusing on asking questions. We're doing Youth Alpha, for those who are new to the faith, and for those who are deeper in their faith, we're following a book called 10 Questions Every Teen Should Be Able to Ask and Answer About Christianity. So there's always some version of worship and the word. Like I said, because we're large in numbers, the Friday focus is on small groups, conversations, connection, and trying to ensure that the youth leaders actually know people and chat with people. So that's our Fridays. It can be fun. Sometimes, we'll have a dance club. There's a time we did something called Youth Cafe where people were just sitting. We'd have hot chocolate and ask questions. But it's a very, I'd say, seeker friendly. It's easy for kids to invite they tend to invite their friends to Friday more than they
Brilliant.
invite them to a Sunday, which brings us to Sundays. Sundays is a service. We have two services here at New Life, the 9:15 and the 11:15.
Yeah.
And we have maybe 60 to 70 in the first service. Um, that can be intimidating. It was the first day I came in, I was like, they're all staring at me with their blank faces. Yeah, so we have that. We basically run it almost like a normal preach. So we will preach with them, but we'll include some games and things like that. And then the second service has a lot fewer kids. They're like 15.
Yeah.
It's a very different vibe. It's so interactive. You will not finish a sermon without people asking questions, talking to each other, and not even in a disruptive way, but it's a group, it's a very different dynamic.
More
Yeah.
participation. Yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like I have three different congregations,
Yeah.
because, yeah, sometimes not all the kids come for each and every one of those. That's mostly it. We have New Day, which I went to for the first time this year. There were like 10K plus teenagers, and it was phenomenal. We took 103 kids, 27 volunteers. It is a force for good. It's a force, but it is intense,
Yeah.
but it's also magnificent just to see. I think for me, it's sometimes you can be like, oh. I'm all alone in this world, like the way Elijah did. But
Mm,
New Day, it helps you and the kids know that there's many of you
mm,
worshiping Jesus. And it's because you're there, they run the program. Your main job there is one, of course, the admin of feeding and moving kids, but also it's a lot of discipleship that happens. There's this
mm.
one kid who never used to talk to me, okay? I would come to him, and at best, the one time that he did something, he removed his earphones. I was like, "How's your day?" And he was like, "Mm." Like that was it. That was it. That was the most. And he gave me eye contact. And I remember celebrating it. I was like, I got eye contact from him. But during New Day, we had like a 1 hour conversation. And that's just what it does. Like, that's what I guess that's what camping experiences are. They give you this opportunity to
Mm,
just be in each other's spaces and faces to
yeah.
see what your morning face looks like and what it looks like to be cranky. And for discipleship to happen then. Yeah, I'm still getting into the role, trying to figure things out, but that's mostly what it looks like. We do have other things during the year, like, trying to raise funds for New Day. So we'll do bake sales and stuff. We
Mhm.
have a youth Sunday where we take over the church and we run the main service, and that's always exciting. This year I did a preach with a young person, and I yeah, I feel like every youth worker should prepare a preach with their youth because the stuff that comes out of them is both gems and a lot of soil.
Yeah.
But it was so fun. I had so much fun. And I can't wait to do it again next year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Mhm.
And how would you say that God has led, moved, and changed you along the way of that journey,
Mm,
getting into youth work and
mm.
being a youth worker?
I think he's really, one, he's restored the joy of salvation to me.
Mm,
Having worked in child protection and in Christian spaces of social justice, serving God can feel very hard and very heavy.
mm,
And I'm not saying youth work isn't heavy and hard, but when you're dealing with like the worst of humanity, it can be really hard. But um, being in youth work has just helped me to remember that in the presence of God, there is freedom, there is joy. And being a part of that and trying to help young people discover that,
mm.
creating room for that in our programming and services, that's been fun. I mean, I just love it. I have a basketball on my table right now. I have toys, I buy crafts. I mean, my life is full of whimsy and
Yeah.
it's exciting. And I think the other thing that it's done for me is God has really made me embrace authenticity and vulnerability. There'll
Mm,
be so many times I'll be connecting or I'll be preaching with the kids, and God tells me to share something, and I'm like, oh gosh, that's so embarrassing. I don't want them to know that I had this struggle. I don't want them to see this side of me. But in each and every one of those times, it's opened something up for them and with me because again, um, yeah, we are as Christians, we are called to be authentic and to be vulnerable.
mm,
That's how community is built. So I think those two are the big things that I've seen God moving and changing in me. And I think I remember I knew that I had this moment I feel like I moved from being someone who's doing youth work to being a youth worker
mm-hmm.
because putting aside my research background, which I loved, and I was moving towards. I hit a career high when I finished my PhD and was doing research. It was like full steam ahead, and then I felt like stepping into youth work was like, oh, okay, I'm at the groundwork of another mountain, and I don't even know if I want to be there. But I feel like God has changed my identity, and He's also really helped me lay aside what I count as my identity because I felt more proud to talk about my research than to talk about youth work. But that has changed now. And
Mm,
I'm just proud to be a youth worker and a youth leader.
yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And you mentioned already a highlight of this last year in that conversation you had with a young person at New Day, the one that wouldn't talk to you. But have you got any other ministry highlights of amazing things you've seen happen or just
Yeah.
encouragements?
Yeah, I think two big ones. Well, three. Oh, I can say many. So there's this one, and it's tied to New Day. So we have this young guy in our church, and he's very quiet. He's one of those still waters run deep kind of youth.
Mm,
And he doesn't quite raise his hand up that much. He won't speak unless spoken to, but
mm,
he invites people to church. And he invited this friend of his to New Day, non-Christian youth. And one of the things about New Day is that they give us tickets for unchurched youth. So we
mhm,
did that and then we sponsored the ticket. And so we brought him along and he had this chance to encounter God and to give his life to Christ. And then the Sunday afternoon day, we usually give our testimonies. So we invited him to give his testimony.
mm.
And his mom came to church with him for the first time.
Yeah.
And at the end of the service, she gave her life to Christ. And just like that, an entire household has been changed because this really quiet boy extended an invite.
Mm,
That to me is exactly what we're on about. It's not just about the shiniest youth. It's about everyone knowing
yeah.
that they have a part to play and doing their thing
Yeah.
in their own way. Another ministry highlight is that this young boy, his parents came to us in the summer, and he is highly autistic and he is homeschooled. So he has had very little social interaction
Mm,
because of his autism, and they really wanted him to try out church. So we invited him to come along on a Friday because, like I said, it's a lot more social and
mm,
open. And he started coming. And since the summer, he's only missed 2 Fridays. But he slowly, you can see him coming out of his shell and
mm,
engaging with other people. Sometimes he struggles with some things because, never been to church. Why are we worshiping? What's going on? What's this? But the other day, he also has eczema, and it was really causing him to struggle to sleep at night. And he mentioned it
mm,
during during the youth alpha class. So they prayed for him. And when he came back 2 weeks later, his mom was like, the itchiness has gone. He's been sleeping through the night. And this is the first time in a long time.
mm.
So that to me is just like, it's worth the long nights of running
Yeah.
a Friday youth every day. I'm like, yeah, the fact that someone who's never stepped into church can come and find a home.
Yeah.
He's been talking to his parents about how he wants friends. And I've seen my youth, like going to chat with him, invite him to play,
Mm,
and they consistently do it every week. And then he's
yeah.
found a home. And because he's found a home, his parents have found a home. And they're
Mm,
coming to the parenting evenings and everything. You can just see a sense of God enveloping this family.
yeah.
And I'm just in awe that He could use us to do this and
Mm,
to reach them and give them this space. Yeah.
yeah. Cool.
Mhm.
And just to dig into that a little bit deeper, because I know that if that had happened to me early on in my career, parents had come and asked if their autistic child could come to one of my groups, I would have been a
Mm,
little bit in panic mode. Like, how do we make
mm,
sure that they're going to be
yeah.
welcomed by the other children? And how do we make sure that we're
Mhm.
welcoming them in the right way and that we're
Mhm.
not doing activities that are going to, push them on the outside as a wallflower? How did you deal with all of that in
Yeah.
that conversation and since then? And
That's a good question. I think, I guess this is an example of God not wasting our experiences. So,
mm,
in my research work, because I was looking into fostering, and I worked with a Christian organization, we did a couple of sessions on how the church can be more welcoming. It was for care experienced children, but in doing that, I learned about the importance of the church being a welcoming space for people with different needs. So, I remember talking to the parents, and I was just like, I mean, I don't know how to deal with autism, but I was just like, I want to try.
yep.
And so one of the things that we agreed with the mom was like, she can come and she can sit in the sessions.
Mm,
And I just try to make sure that I'm always getting feedback from her.
mm,
And so we didn't change up the structure for the one
mm,
because we already had something that we were trying to do.
yep.
But we try to make sure that the volunteers were aware of it. And I love
Mm,
that's the other thing. The wonderful thing about God is that He works through so many people. And two of my volunteers are SEND teachers, so
Okay.
they understand special
Yeah.
needs. And I guess because of the size of our church, we have children with special needs coming every so often, and we
Yeah.
even have care experienced people. And so just what we do is we're like, I want you to be welcome.
Mm.
I want you to sit in. I've had a couple of conversations with my youth about making sure they're welcoming. If, for example, I've seen them not be so kind, or if I've seen them excluding someone, I'll be
Mm.
direct. I'll be like, okay, guys, this is not how we respond to this situation. And the other thing is I try to connect them with another youth who is a bit more friendly, is
Yep.
a bit more caring, and might be able to gel with them. And I guess that's the best thing about Fridays, because you can connect. The first day he came, one of our really friendly youth was there playing table tennis. I was like, "Do you want to go play together?" And that was an easy win. I'm
Yep.
not gonna lie, it was an easy win. Yeah, but I think it's a lot about actually saying you're gonna be welcoming and then being ready to do everything.
Mm.
Sometimes after a session, I'll ask the mom, how did it go? Would it help if we had fidget toys or something for him and stuff like that, or writing notes and stuff like that?
Yep.
And yeah, we just keep trying.
Yep. Amazing.
Mhm.
I love it. I didn't ask you in advance, but have you got a fun question for me that you've brought?
Yes, I do.
Okay, great.
So you've got Thanos gloves, but these Thanos gloves allow you to click your finger, and you can either give every young person in the world something or take away something from every
Mm.
young person in the world. What are you clicking your fingers for?
Oh, that's a good question. I think my first thought was self-confidence, the self-esteem thing, because I think that's an issue that lots of young people struggle with. And I, particularly as a young person, struggle with that, just feeling like I was
Mm,
unloved and not accepted anywhere. And if I could have
mm,
just had that little thought to know that I was, that would have changed everything for me. So I think
yeah,
that's what my gut and my heart went to straight away. Clicking my
yeah,
fingers, and everybody would feel a little bit more
mm,
self-confident and know that they were loved.
yeah,
If I was to take something away, that's a tough one. My other thought about adding something was about, I don't know, the lack of community thing, either willpower or motivation to just go out and get connected somewhere, to a youth
yeah,
group, get connected
yeah.
in with somewhere that's going to be positive. If I was to click my fingers and take something away, don't know. Probably some kind of negative emotion.
Yeah, I'm taking away their phones. I'll be
Yeah.
like, no one has phones. Done. Solve half the world problems.
Yeah, it would. There's good as well though, that isn't there, that can come out of that. But yeah, a lot of negative.
Mm,
Yeah, good question. Thanks, Dart.
you're welcome.
What area of youth, kids, family ministry are you the most passionate about, and why?
Hmm. What area? I'm gonna be really boring and I'm gonna say sound teaching.
Hmm. It's not
Yeah.
boring.
Um, oh yeah, thank you. I've grown up in the church, so I've seen various iterations of what youth ministry can look like.
Mm,
And whenever there's more fun than fundamentals, it becomes it's exciting. It 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 grows,
mm,
but I just think we need to be able to empower these kids to face the world. And that just comes by sound teaching. I'm so passionate about that. I'm so passionate about youth actually being able to own their faith and know their faith, so that when they step into uni or college or apprenticeship and everything, their faith survives the stuff that's gonna be thrown at them.
yeah.
But not even that, because I also have a bone to pick with every time we talk about young people and we just talk about their future. But even with the present, I know that our
Yeah.
youth face a lot of issues, and Jesus, the Bible, Christianity has the answers for
Mm,
life and godliness. And we just need to teach it. and allow the word to, I'm not saying don't be relevant, but the word does have answers, and we can teach them how to pursue it for themselves, how to read it, how to understand it. Some of our kids are facing really horrific situations, and
Yeah.
they don't need a really fun, silly game. They need gritty faith. They need a space to lament. They need a space to bring their questions. So I think sound teaching
Yeah.
is the axe that I have to grind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
And why do you think it's important for like the church to engage with children and young people? What would be your thoughts on that?
Um, because Jesus did.
Yeah.
Jesus engaged. Jesus engaged with children and young people. Their faith matters. Little people's faith matters. They don't have little faith. They don't have a smaller version of the Holy Spirit. So if we believe that, Christianity and everything we have to offer is relevant, is exactly what we need in order to be able to face this world and to live well as human beings, if that's the key to life, if that's everything, then it should start as soon as life starts. Yeah, we can't wait to engage with them when we feel they've reached our intellectual capacity. Yeah. Well, for one thing, if they die at that age, then what? You waited until they were 18 to engage them, then you never got a chance to share with them the gospel. But also, they have the same light as us, which means that we might be busy trying to fix the school system and the education system through policies and teachers, but also our children being in those schools are the light that is needed in those spaces. So if we can continue to fan their flames, then that's the way that we impact the education system. That's the way we change the youth culture that is there right now.
And going back to before youth work, what did you do your PhD on? Just a side
Yeah,
question.
side quest. My PhD was looking at the recruitment of foster carers. So I used to run Safe Families for Children in Kenya, and I was passionate about fostering. And through my PhD work, I realized that some of the issues that come in the fostering system can be fixed through recruitment, finding the right people, advertising well, marketing well, and assessing and training well. If you get the right people in, then it fixes the problems further along the way. One of the things that I loved to find out in my research was just the large number of Christians who are foster carers and how we are impacting the fostering system.
Yeah.
Also, the first foster carer in the UK was it a vicar? It was a Christian man.
Oh,
So it's just lovely
yeah.
to see Christianity impact an entire system. It's unseen, and it's not too talked about, but I just found a whole world of Christians really caring for the vulnerable as I did my research, and that was phenomenal. Yeah.
And what advice or encouragement would you give for youth and kids leaders who are listening?
Advice.
Hmm.
I would I would say stay connected to God. And I think I'd remind them the thing that God continues to remind me, and I keep needing Him to remind me. I used to ask, why me? And I used to ask it in the, why me? Why are things going wrong for me? Or why did you pick me? Like, why? And God helped me reframe that to why me, as in like, God, tell me what it is that you've seen in me. Tell me what skills and experience that you have put in me that has made you decide that I am the best person to fill this position at this time for these children. And when you start to look at it that way, you start to realize that you don't have to be the same type of youth worker that someone else is.
Yeah.
You just have to be you and bring you to the table, because that's who God has put in that space, and you'll see him grow. And I think the other thing I'd say is stay on top of your relationship with God. It's so easy to only read the Bible because you need to lead a Bible study and stuff like that. But one of the things that I'm learning, and one of the rhythms that I've put in place, is at least once a week, I will go. We have a prayer room here. I'll go to the prayer room and I'll just pray. Sometimes I put the music on loud and I just have a dance party. Sometimes I'm on my knees and I'm like, God, why? What's going on? But actually dedicating office hours, and I'm really clear about office hours because then you end up overworking, but
Mm,
actually dedicating office hours to spending time with God
mm,
will do a lot more for your actual results than 20 hours of planning.
mm.
God just, yeah, God math is different. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so that's my encouragement. And I know you're doing a wonderful job. The other day I saw this video. Sorry, I'm gonna ramble
Yeah,
on, but it
no,
was a
go
really
on.
cool video.
Continue.
There's There was a video of flowers blooming in the desert. If anyone goes to the BBC Instagram, just scroll down and you'll find it. But there's flowers blooming in this really dry desert. And it's because the seeds that, that from the last blooming, maybe 5, 7 years ago, remained in the ground. And when the rains came,
Mm,
it was just sufficient to cause this beautiful, wonderful, spectacular display. And I remember as soon as I saw it, I texted my other youth leaders because I was like, I feel like this is what God is telling us, that you might feel like you're planting seeds in the driest desert on earth, but when God sends the rain, it's gonna bloom. And
mm,
you just have to be faithful. Keep planting, keep planting. You're making a difference. As long as you're being faithful to God and the word, you're making a difference.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I love that wisdom.
Mhm.
That's great. Youth work and kids work can feel really hard sometimes, can't it? You can feel like you're not
Mm.
getting anywhere.
Yeah.
And that you're just, yeah, you're sowing all these seeds and they're just falling on the dry, barren
Hmm.
ground and not doing anything. And we don't always get to see the fruit of that, do we? But it
Mm-mm.
doesn't mean that there isn't any.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I really love that wisdom and picture of the flowers in the desert. Love it.
Mm.
Thanks for sharing that with us, Dart. Any other nuggets of wisdom that you want to bestow on us before you go today?
Nuggets of wisdom. I don't know. Jesus loves you.
Yeah. What
I
else?
think, oh yes, this one. I
Oh, go
think
on.
because I remember this is something that I've learned. Again, child protection and social justice works really helps you to develop some resilience when it comes to loving people who are not being lovable. And this might be especially for those who have like really tough cases.
Mm,
Again, bring it to Jesus. I remember there's this one time we were dealing with a lady, and God, when I was praying, God was like, "Do you think that you've introduced this individual to me? Like, I knit them in their mother's womb,
mm,
and I formed them, and I have a plan for their lives, and I'm moving in their life. So it's not up to you to carry them through this. You've got to be able to trust me and let go of some things." And I think, especially when we might see a kid who's struggling, it's not that we have to release them and step back, but sometimes we have to know when to just pause and just leave it to God. We can't we can't carry everyone. We can't build up the faith of the struggling kid. We can't bring
mm.
back the one
Yeah.
who's decided to go down the wrong way. We can just pray for them and intentionally do that and trust God to do the rest because He's the one who's been doing it anyway. And
Mm,
I think sometimes in ministry, we can really forget that and feel discouraged or feel like we have to carry it all, but we don't. Yeah.
yeah. Love it. Thanks, Dot. We can't fix every problem. We just have to do our part, don't we? Our small little
Yeah.
part. Thanks so much for coming on today. I feel like you've shared loads of useful, helpful wisdom that's going to be great for our listeners. If you're listening to this, then yeah, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment, get in touch if you want to about anything that we've talked about today. Be encouraged in your role, whatever you're doing with children and youth. Or if you're not involved with anything at the minute, then uh, be encouraged to get involved in a team somewhere. Start volunteering somewhere because all you need to do is just do your part. You don't need to do and fix everything. Just sign up, do your part. That's all. So yeah, thanks for listening today. We hope that you found this podcast helpful, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye bye. Bye, Dart.
Bye.